All right, let's talk about something that's super important for anyone building with GenAI on AWS, Amazon Bedrock Quotas. We're going to break down why your app might suddenly stop working and, more importantly, how to make sure that never happens again. You know the feeling, right? You're so excited, you've built this amazing app, you're showing it off, and then, poof, it just grinds to a halt. The model stops responding, and you're just staring at an error message. It is beyond frustrating. So what's actually going on here? Well, 9 times out of 10, the culprit is throttling. You've hit a service quota. Now, these limits are there for a good reason, to keep the service stable for everyone. But the real key is understanding how they actually work under the hood. Okay, so let's get into it. To stop getting throttled, we first have to understand the currency of the entire system, and that currency is tokens. It's all about what I like to call Bedrock's token economy. First up is TPM, which stands for tokens per minute. Think of this as your speed limit. For every single model, AWS puts a cap on the total number of tokens. That's your input prompt and the model's output combined that you can process in any 60-second window. And right alongside that, you've got TPD, or tokens per day. So if TPM is your speed limit, think of TPD as your total amount of gas in the tank for the entire day. It's a bigger number that just makes sure there's a ceiling on your total usage. Now here's where things get really, really interesting. When you send a request to Bedrock, it doesn't wait to see how many tokens the model generates. No, it immediately makes a temporary reservation against your quota. And how it calculates that reservation is the thing you absolutely have to understand. But before we get to that calculation, we need to talk about something called the burn down rate. This is basically the exchange rate for your tokens. You'd probably assume that one token generated by the model uses up one token from your quota, right? Well, that's not always true. And this is a huge gotcha you need to be aware of. For most models, it's a simple one-to-one deal. But for some of the really powerful Anthropic Claude models, a single output token actually eats up 5 tokens from your quota. If you don't know this, you could be burning through your quota 5 times faster than you think. So, all of this leads us to the single biggest reason apps get throttled. It's a little thing that can completely make or break your app's performance. I'm talking about the max tokens parameter trap. Here's the most important takeaway of this whole thing. When you make a request, Bedrock's initial deduction is your input tokens, plus whatever number you set for max_tokens. It basically assumes the worst-case scenario and reserves enough quota for the largest possible output right from the start. So let's see what happens when you get this wrong. Imagine your input prompt is, say, 8,000 tokens, and you know the answer will probably only be about 1,000 tokens. But you play it safe, and you just leave max tokens at a big default value, like 32,000. Boom. Bedrock immediately carves out 40,000 tokens from your quota for that one single request. Yeah, you'll get most of it back once the request is done, but for a moment there, your available quota just got hammered. And what's the result of that? Well, it means any other requests coming in at the same time are way more likely to get throttled. Your quota is all tied up, reserving space for an output you were never even going to generate. This absolutely kills your app's ability to handle multiple users at once. Okay, now let's rewind and do this the smart way. Same 8,000 token input, you still expect 1,000 token output. But this time, you set max tokens to something much more realistic, like 1,250, just to be safe. Just look at that difference. The initial reservation is only 9,250 tokens. It's a tiny fraction of what it was before. And just by making that one tiny change, you've left a ton of your quota free for other requests. Your app can now handle way more traffic, and you're using your resources so much more efficiently. This is the real secret to getting high throughput. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? Well, the good news is AWS gives you a whole toolkit to manage this, with tools for planning ahead and for looking back. First, let's talk about planning. Your proactive secret weapon here is the Count Tokens API. Before you even run a model, you can use this to find out exactly how many tokens are in your input prompt. Using this lets you do all sorts of cool stuff like estimating costs or shrinking down your prompts if they're too long. But you know the best part? The API itself is completely free to use. So there is literally no reason not to build this into your workflow. So that's looking forward. What about looking back at what's already happened? For that, your best friend is going to be Amazon CloudWatch.
This is how you analyze what your app is doing in the real world so you can fine-tune everything.
So what do? It's pretty straightforward. You just pop over to CloudWatch, find the automatic dashboards for Bedrock, and then you look for the token counts by model dashboard. In there, you'll see the actual output token count from your past requests, and that data, it's pure gold. It tells you exactly what a realistic max tokens value is for your app. But what happens when you've optimized everything and your app is just so successful that you simply need more power? Well, first of all, congrats, that's a great problem to have. And that's when you request a quota increase.
Now, there's something really important you need to know, and it comes straight from the AWS documentation. They basically say that they give priority to customers who are actually using the quota they already have. So before you ask for more, you need to show them that you're consistently hitting your limits. You gotta prove you need it.
So there you have it. Getting throttled isn't some random thing that just happens. It's a direct result of how this token economy works. Once you understand the burn down rate, you optimize that max tokens parameter, and you use the right tools, these quotas stop being a bottleneck. They just become a predictable part of your system. So the real question is, now that you know the rules of the game, is your app built to win?